the time for him to start showing his stuff.
Yeah, definitely hope to see that happen. We are going to start right with the ban picks. Straight away, Marks Leona actually going to be taken away with it from the draft. He is a 70% win rate career-wise on that champion, so no real surprises there. On BLG side, they're going to take away the Nidalee, which Meteor has actually never won in the LPL on, and they're also going to take away Zoom's Gnar, which was a great highlight performer. Even though they didn't win the game, he was pretty strong on it in the laning phase.
Now, I'm interested to see where BLG go here. You would expect for them to go towards something like the Graves. It'd be a bit of a takeaway from Kanavi. The Nidalee's also banned, which I think is like the premier counter pick. But talking a bit more about those bans, I'm surprised we didn't see BLG ban out the likes of something like a Zoe, which is far and away Yagao's best champion and extremely potent right now in the meta.
Definitely is the case. JD Gaming can run that poke style of composition. In terms of the 80 carries, I do think they do favor like Jhin and Zoe, that sort of a poke composition a little bit more, but JD Gaming are going to give over the Samira, still 100% ban pick in the LPL so far, so not too surprising that Aiming is going to try his hand out on that one.
And the way I'd like to see JDG build around it is go for more of that long-range style composition we just set up, but instead going to pivot more towards a bit of a global pick comp with this first pick, taking away the Twisted Fate. I do think Zika's champion pool is a bit strange. He's very much an assassin player, or even a lot of like bruiser type champions like the Sylas. So I'm interested to see where BLG go with the answer, and thus far I'm kind of liking what BLG's putting together.
Yep, BLG locked down the Samira pick. They're thinking about the Graves like you were talking about. So it seems like they can go a lot of different directions. They can probably play the Wombo combo comp. Definitely whenever you have a Samira, you're definitely looking to solidify your composition with a lot of knockups, and Ornn is still on the table. So I think BLG could sort of pivot towards that front-to-back team fight and try to counter out JD Gaming, which is shaping up to be more like a global and pick style of comp.
Yeah, I think that you definitely go support here. I like the Gragas lock-in, so going for more of a flex option, can be played top, can be played in the support role. So BLG thus far is saying, hey, we want to play really close to the chest. We want these all-in team fights, a lot of brawly skirmishes. For the side of JDG, I'm wondering where Kanavi will go. Ends up locking in the Lilia, so very magic damage heavy comp, though obviously Kai said this split does pretty much just all in on AD damage, but for JDG, I'm not really quite sure how they want to round this out. We definitely need to see an AD soul laner, so maybe something like the Camille in top lane for Zoom. It would work quite well with that global pick comp that they've already started putting together.
It definitely seems a bit weird to go with the Lilia, go double AP in the mid and jungle, when something like Pantheon is still up on the table. But great call on the Camille pick. That would have worked out with the catch composition perfectly. BLG does take that away from Zoom immediately. And JD Gaming are left banning a lot of supports here, which I don't think is necessarily in their favor, because we have seen Mark actually just take this Gragas into the support role and do very well with it.
I think Gragas is totally fine support. You have like decent lane presence, obviously, very low cooldown abilities, the range Q, so I think BLG are in a good spot. I'm still keeping my eyes on where do JDG go with a top laner. Obviously, I expect JDG potentially to wait for last pick, and they could just look to counter pick and see where the Gragas goes. But with the Renekton banned, maybe all you really have left is the Aatrox in terms of like strong AD solo laners.
It's pretty funny because Zoom does have a lot of AD champions that are not really considered meta. We did see him running both the Darius and the Set with the likes of Stridebreaker as his first mythic item in the Demacia Cup. So that's definitely something they could pivot towards. However, it will look like the support pick. And what better champion to round off a pick composition other than the likes of Thresh?
I also think this is a pretty decent pick into Gragas in the laning phase. You obviously have ways to stop his E going off and obviously providing peel towards your AD carry. You have a bit of lockdown for the Samira. It isn't obviously very guaranteed, so it is going to take a bit of skill on Lumau's part, but when we talked about how good he was in 2020, it definitely feels like a solid pickup for him.
Yep, love that pickup for the side of JD Gaming. We're going to go towards BLG as they round out their composition with that front line we were talking about, with the potential for a lot of disengage, as we do see the Galio come out. That's going to pair pretty nicely with the likes of the Gragas as well. And it looks like the final pick will be a decision between the support or the top laner, and they are going to lock down Ornn at the very end.
the inner color caster coming out of you, Clement Shu. You called the Ornn, and now we're seeing it fits really well with BLG's comp. Once again, they want to be the team that aggresses. They want these really small, close-range, scrappy fights. Very stock standard LPL, and there is the Aatrox that we talked about for Zoom. We know he needed like a high AD threat in the top lane. He's going to have a winning matchup into the Ornn. And for JDG, this was a style of composition they played very well last split. We know that Kanavi, when he does gank early, tends to put pressure on top side, and there's the champion that Yagao can start to enable Kanavi that we set up, before draft.
Definitely is the case, and it sounds like this is what you wanted to see out of JD Gaming. Lanes that can really support the jungle, playing a little bit more Kanavi focused than with Xia on the roster here. Now, we have established what the comps are going to be. It's likely going to be some sort of front to back on the side of BLG, Ping on Bank, and on JD Gaming side, it does look very much like a pick composition. Where do you think is going to be the crucial lane that is going to decide most of the early action?
For me, I definitely think it'll be a more jungle-centric game, but it's kind of interesting because I think both teams kind of want to play around different areas. I think for BLG, once again, you want to go towards that bot lane like we were setting up, and for the side of JDG, you want to play more around top. You have the Aatrox. Sure, the enemy team has an Ornn, but you have mixed damage coming in. I think you have good damage from Lilia's passive where you can find early kills onto that Ornn, and again, it's going to be about snowballing jungle matchup for these sides, which fits very well with the meta.
Bombi versus the big scary man with the shotgun going into the jungle. Let's see who's going to win out on that one. We have our teams locked and loaded here. And pretty interesting, we do see Zika running the Predator Galio. How do you feel about this one compared to something that is more standard like the Aftershock?
This is something that you tend to see a lot more in solo queue, and I know a lot of players feel is much better, especially in this game where you already have a very durable frontline. I don't feel like we need to see Zika kind of function as that, frontline threat that starts off fights. You can play more closely with aiming, kind of give him space to take over these fights. And this obviously just gives you more presence in the early game to match Yigao's Twisted Fate.
With that being said, let's welcome ourselves onto the Rift. We're going to hear the Jayos pretty soon coming down. We do have live audiences so far this split. Always a great treat to have that passion and energy in the house. And for now, the Jayos don't seem to be coming through just yet. We're still waiting on them. Come on, crowd.
BLG, Jayo. I did my best, Clement. I did my best.
Well, okay, we're probably going to skip over the Jayo part, but looking at this early level 1, BLG is going to take the advantage with some deep vision placed into the red side of JD Gaming. This does seem like there will be a lot of pressure coming in for Meteor, that he knows now that he knows the pathing coming in from Kanavi.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what Meteor does with this. It kind of looks like both jungles might potentially just go for a full clear. I don't expect Meteor to want to split map and go for any kind of topside invade when we've already set up the jungle matchup, but he's already heading towards River, so maybe he doesn't care what I say and he just wants to go for it.
Could be a possibility right here. However, both sides going back to their own jungle. He is going to go walk towards his Krugs. We did see a lot of level 1 action from Mark when he was on the likes of the Gragas, and honestly his Gragas has been an absolute treat to watch. We did see his level 6 burst damage coming in with the Kaisa, just obliterating enemy bot lanes, and him and aiming just once more. They average a 33 CS lead over eStar's bot lane at 15 minutes, so this is definitely going to be a lane to watch.
I definitely think Gragas is also a champion that's pretty decent in the laning phase. I think he's kind of underlooked in that area. Like I said, you have very low cooldowns. You have, obviously, your range Q when you're playing a lot against these melee champions, Leona, Alistar, Thresh, along these lines. So Gragas is a good way of gaining lane priority. Very easy to roam, very good to pair up with an enemy with your jungle, with the CC you provide. So I definitely think BLG have a lot of tools to make things happen, not only in bottom lane, but around the bot side of the map as a whole.
And with that, we did see some pings going out. They are definitely noticing on BLG's side that there is no wards in the river brush so far. They did get the correct ping onto Yagao's ward. That is being cleared out right now. And the pathing for Meteor is going straight to the bot lane like you did mention. So it looks like we will see BLG being the aggressive one so far, and probably trying to get Meteor a bit more of that CS lead into the early game.
And this was expected, right? We knew both teams were just going to kind of play around their jungle timers, so much more about these full clears. You do have setup for a gank in mid lane, potentially, if Zika wasn't chunked out, right? Galio goes in with a taunt, Meteor brings all the bursts and damage, but Yagao doing a great job of controlling this lane early, which is quite expected. TF does typically get the push early on before Galio can kind of just ignore him, use his passive on the way along with the Q, and just kind of ignore the Twisted Fate, so it is going to be a bit of a slower start, especially this season, right, where now as junglers, you can just start off by just buying your mythic items. You don't need to care about the jungle item anymore, so we have tended to see junglers take it a bit more of a calm pace.
We did hear Doinby talk about the meta a little bit, and he said that mainly the jungle and the mid positions, both of them are scaling in this patch so far, so we have been seeing a lot of quiet early games like you were mentioning right here. However, it does look like things are starting to heat up in the bottom side. Both of these teams really emphasizing on the vision and also just trying to make sure that this Samira does not get away with too much CS and try to defend their jungle against this pushing wave on BLG's side.
I think it's really smart as well because Samira is kind of an annoying matchup, obviously for a lot of champions, but definitely Kai'Sa specifically, since Kai'Sa is one of these champions at level 6, just provides a bunch of burst and kill potential, but Samira, of course, does back and get some early lifesteal in the Vampiric Scepter, so if Samira does get ahead of Kai'Sa, it's hard for Kai'Sa to ever find those all-in opportunities that she wants to look for.
Taking a look at the bottom lane right now, JD Gaming venturing forward with that pushback. They are going to hit level 4 a little bit faster and instantly going home for the early back. Probably going to be the Noon Quiver on this one. Oh, no, actually just going for the Serrated Dirk right away. So already opting into what we've been seeing as a very popular Kai'Sa build with the early Collector here. And Kanavi just poking his head around with the help of Lumao, trying to get Bambi a little bit more ahead in front of the Shotgun Man.
Just very stock and standard, right? A lot of our junglers, it's about stealing away these Raptor camps. You have a lot of accessibility. We've seen that Yagao's had pressure in mid. We set up about the supports roaming, who can get an earlier reset. It did come out from JDG's bot lane. And this is what Kanavi and Lumao were a lot more known for in 2020, right? Syncing up those recall timings, getting on the map first, and poking their head in the enemy jungle.
Exactly what you said they were doing. They already got the Silk rolled down onto the red side. That's always been a very important word in the LPL. A lot of times we do see mid laners trying to roam down through that section of the map. It is going to be up for Meteor to try and defend that. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we're actually seeing Zoom get to a very sizable early lead. Kind of surprising with that one, since we did see Meteor actually start on the top side right here. He's running away with the matchup.
He did miss a second Q, though, Clement. And for all you Aatrox players out there, you know the edge of your second Q has a bit of an extended hitbox as compared to the center. Zoom not going for that play, did miss out on it, is still dominating the matchup. I don't know why I'm nitpicking. Zoom's potentially the best top laner in the LPL. He's doing great.
15 CS up already, and Meteor is actually going to use this chance to actually take down the Infernal Drake. This one isn't getting spotted by the ward that JD Gaming put down, so they really don't have any knowledge of this. Yagao might suspect it, but he's definitely too late to the play, and they walk away with a very solid objective advantage.
And we've just gotten to the point, right, where Zika can just walk up to the wave in mid, throw down his passive, throw down his Q, he has the double Dorans, and pretty much just ignore the Twisted Fate. The bot lane has been winning consistently this whole time, so it allows Meteor to play a bit of a less interactive, more PvE style game, focus on these neutral objectives, but I still would like to see a bit of early action, even if we do expect BLG to have the scaling advantage with the Ornn, with more of that 5v5 style teamfight composition. I think the setup is definitely there in mid. Yagao doesn't have the cleanse yet with the spellbook, so get in those lanes, Meteor.
I would definitely expect Meteor to try to make something happen mid, maybe cut out the global from Yagao, but where do you want to actually see the action starting? Because it seems like BLG has been setting up a lot of things in the bottom lane, they just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
I think for BLG, it's definitely about going mid first, even if it's not necessarily killing Yagao. Giving a pressure gank, giving Zika more room and more freedom to hover towards the bot side, and then you're also canceling the fact that Yagao can look for that Destiny play on bot. So go mid, transition the mid pressure to bot, and again, keep snowballing or look to snowball this Samira because we know how much she can take over games.
I hope he does do that, but in the meantime, he has to pay this top lane a visit. Zoom is running away with this matchup like we were talking about, almost up 20 CS. He will be up 20 CS after this wave, and it looks like JD Gaming are playing very well around that pressure from their Aatrox. They also have Luma roamed up towards this top lane, straight on the 8-minute mark. They're going to start the Herald right away, and all 10 members on the Rift are heading over. Biu takes some first shots, but maybe Zoom is the one that's actually overextended right here. The Ornhorn does come down. Is Zoom going to get away from this? No, he falls down to the Samira. Aiming, getting the first blood onto the board, and BLG are going to say thank you very much, taking away this objective straight underneath JD Gaming's nose. JD Gaming, they always love to make this play, but this time BLG punished them massively.
Yep, BLG had tempo advantage. They got to the play first. We saw Zoom kind of positioning very aggressively, looking to zone off, got punished, and overall great play coming out from BLG. Another thing I want to touch on real quick is that we do see Kanavi going towards that Moonstone Renewer. Of course, Lilia is a champion who can go for a few different mythics. Moonstone Renewer, you do have the Leandry's Anguish as well.
I'm going to have to cut you off as Yagao is found out in the river. Flashes instantly to take him down, and Kanavi might be the next target. Aiming is chasing him, but is slowed down by his own Inferno Trigger, is not going to be able to catch up the distance right here. And again, another kill is going to go over to BLG. JD Gaming definitely fishing for some comeback kills onto the bottom side of the map, but stepping straight into vision of BLG was not the play there.
Clement, that came out of absolutely nowhere. No one was on my screen. Suddenly, all of BLG are there and collapsing to find that pick. Very decisive play coming out from BLG, and it just keeps creating more room and giving more time. Of course, JDG will always have that element of playing through a side lane, playing with the Destiny, but when you're up against a Galio who not only has his ultimate, has Predator and TP as well, I feel like BLG are in a very good position to answer any aggressive play coming out from JDG.
That was such a smooth play coming from Aiming. I almost felt like they read JD Gaming's minds, because JD Gaming looked like they were expecting Aiming to reset. Aiming actually didn't do that. He just ran straight towards the bottom side. And unfortunately for Yagao, he was spotted on that pink ward while venturing into the bottom side jungle of BLG. So great catch on their part. It's going to be 2 for 0 on the scoreboard. But interestingly enough, JD Gaming still holding on to the gold lead just because of that top side.
Zoom has been doing great in this isolated laning phase. Again, it is what we would expect. Biu on the Ornn, and even just in terms of top laners, Biu has always been more of a weak side top laner, just kind of defending his turret, not really finding his own lane advantages. But Meteor is here, and Biu has the ultimate.
Looks to be a 2v2 shaping up here. Meteor does have the information advantage. He's going to pop up onto Kanavi. Kanavi doesn't have an ally next to him to actually get any value out of that Moonstone Renewer. He is going to be forced to use his ultimate just to get out of that situation, and I would call that a solid win for BLG.
Yeah, and I actually like Moonstone Renewer Lily a lot. I've seen some people question it, but it's such a cheap item. The heal's only on a 2-second cooldown. Very easy for Lilia to proc with her low cooldowns or passive, all of the above. But your composition doesn't have that much consistent DPS, in my opinion. Sure, you have the Kai'Sa, but I feel like it will be a bit harder for Aatrox to kind of do what he wants freely in these fights up against a Gragas and a Galio. I think Yagao's going to have a hard time getting access onto a lot of targets as well. So I would have preferred to see Kanavi go a more damage-oriented build like the Leandry's Anguish.
What do you think about the Pantheon pick? Because I was kind of disappointed that we didn't see a Pantheon in a straight-up poke composition and with a better damage spread as well.
Me and you were actually talking before the broadcast that we didn't really expect either of these junglers to play Pantheon. We didn't see it out of Kanavi in Demacia Cup. Meteor hasn't picked it up in either of these games. I haven't really seen him playing it much in solo queue, so it is a bit of surprise, especially when yesterday Beishang said in his winner's interview he thinks Pantheon's an S+ tier jungler.
Well, that is going to be to the detriment of JD Gaming. It's only going to be Loken right here trying to fend off the 3-man push coming in from BLG. The Herald is dropped. They get their 2 platings. And Lurimal is spotted here trying to set up the ambush. He could have a nasty surprise for him. BLG Mark, we have seen what he can do with that explosive cask, and there is a possibility he could just take him over the wall. That play does fizzle out. Both sides happy to walk away with the gold leads that they just found. And once again, BLG looks like they are putting all of the pressure onto the bot lane and trying to free up Mark and Aiming like you were talking about.
BLG have done a great job at just controlling the bot side river as a whole. We've seen Zika hovering. Zika
Luma actually found out right here. Meteor is going to be right next to the play. Luma does use his exhaust, but can he get out of the play? Doesn't look like it. 3-man from JD Gaming coming in to try and bail him out. Can't find the play right there. And once again, that pink ward has just been killing JDG members over and over again.
Yeah, and Zoom looking to find his own advantage in top side. Still, Bubu is going to get away, but... You know, we were talking about BLG are doing such a good job at controlling bot side river. It looks like Lumao thought that Zika had looked for a recall, but was just abusing the lack of information that JDG had to wait in that brush. And it's just been a very clean push and pull from BLG. Show up in bot, help them get pressure, or even just give them vision to secure pressure on their own. Hover towards mid, and just, again, a flow, a push and pull between mid and bot lane. Been very beautiful to watch.
Definitely agree with you right there. Everything is just working out so smoothly for BLG. And on the flip side for JD Gaming, it feels like they have, you know, been completely stuck into a halt. We haven't seen a single ultimate come out from Yagao this game whatsoever. And if you're playing a Twisted Fate, you know that's never a good sign on how the game is supposed to go.
Definitely not. I don't feel like he's had too many opportunities or places on the map that were very evident to make the play. We saw that JDG have hovered around topside a few times, but Meteor always with great reads kind of waiting in the wings, but JDG potentially wanting to be aggressive here in the mid lane.
They are setting up on a Vision blind spot, just waiting for someone to walk into this place. But overall, I don't think BLG will fall for the bait. We do see a tag down to aiming. That is a plasma stack. If he gets tagged up by Lumao here, it could very well be a kill, but he does understand the situation. He backs out immediately, and it looks like JD Gaming are going to find themselves a 5v4 onto the second Herald.
Yeah, it looks like BLG are just going to give it up. Bubu does have teleport if they did want to fight for this. They don't have the Gragas cask up, and maybe just saying, hey, we don't need this. JDG actually don't have any really obvious places to use Herald other than topside. You would definitely expect Kanavi to drop it there with how much of an advantage that Zoom found on his own in the top half of the map. So I think we're just going to see BLG hover and look to try and counteract this push from JDG.
Great call right here. This is a 3-man push against a 2-man coming in for BLG. The tower should be unsalvageable, and it's just a question of BLG want to stay around and try to make a play here. Doesn't look like it. They're pretty happy with the lead and the push-in they got in the bot lane. However, in the mid lane, we have a play developing. The Ornhorn does not connect on Yagao, and he is able to walk away from that one. A bit of a misplay from Bubu. Definitely felt like he could have landed that ultimate better. Oh, but Meteor says, no worries, brother. I got you covered, and he misses an ult of his own. So Yagao gets away scot-free.
Yeah, the Merc Treads from Yagao coming in clutch, right? We saw Zika hit the Justice Punch into the taunt. Yagao still able to get away. Like you said, a bit of a mess up from Bubu. I love the man mode coming in from Meteor. And now JDG playing off their tempo window since BLG just made a play. It gives BLG just made a play, I'm sorry. It gives JDG room to set up vision for the upcoming Drake.
That's what you want of your jungler. That's a jungler that cares about your psyche, you know? He just witnessed you miss everything on the Yagao, and he's like, it's okay, bro. I don't need my cooldowns anyway. So he just blows everything onto Yagao and just tries to make his top laner feel better. You gotta feel for that. Meteor is a bro.
You know, I want to see the kind of jungler like SOFM at Worlds where he just kept interrupting recalls and kind of like flashing emotes in front of the enemy team. I feel like that's what I want out of a jungler.
Hey, you are that
disrespect.
Sort of jungler. I play with you a lot, and you do that tons of times. You will flash over the wall just to interrupt a recall for me. So I definitely can see where that's coming from. You feel for SOFM. Right now, we have an interesting lane allocation coming out on the top side. It's a 2v1 against Yagao. But he still has both summoners, and it looks like he is able to defend this quite well. On the flip side, JD Gaming is going to use their pressure. They do have a number advantage in the mid lane. Just going to get a little bit more farm for Kanavi on that front. But while we were talking about rotations, wow, it does seem like Meteor is just running away with the CS count right now. 46 CS ahead of the likes of the Bombi. This definitely looks like it's hunting season for Meteor.
I do want to highlight we have mythic advantages in different areas. Zoom has mythic, but Bubu doesn't. But Aiming also has Immortal Shield Bow to where Loken does not have his mythic item. So this could be massive depending on the formation of the fight. Aiming feeling really strong going into this one.
We finally see Yagao pop his ultimate. Destiny is going to go straight into the backline, but Bubu is there to cut the stun off. Aiming is still alive somehow through all of this, and Lurmao goes down. They finally find the kill onto Aiming in the backline. Zoom is basically untouched right here. Nobody can deal with this Aatrox. With World Ender, it's going to try and chase Meteor down. The first flash doesn't hit, but the gold card comes in, and they finish off the kill. JD Gaming are able to turn things around in this team fight. Great play by the likes of Yagao, just sniping out Aiming throughout those layers of defenses that BLG were able to put up.
Yagao and Loken really showing up, right? We saw the Destiny coming out from Yagao and Loken following suit, just jumping right on top of him. Does equal out for the Drake for JDG. And now we're going to see the map reset. I assume we're going to start seeing more vision around topside as we are getting closer to that Baron timer. And if you're able to shut down this Samira with, again, a lot of these distance closing tools, the Destiny, the Kai'Sa ultimate, Aatrox, it feels like JDG are in a good position.
You really have to walk us through this because I didn't see JD Gaming actually coming out ahead in a front-to-back team fight.
Yeah, we saw Aiming get chunked super low by the Kai'Sa and the Twisted Fate jumping onto him, but Zoom was pretty much left untouched the whole time. So, again, BLG, a composition that wants to come into you. This is where Aatrox thrives. Hitting a lot of these Qs, has that Gore Drinker. Beautiful flash gold card coming out from Yagao to secure Meteor and lead to that Dragon for JDG.
That was so goddamn decisive on the side of JD Gaming. You really don't see team fights being executed that way. One side of the team being willing to rush over a ramp in that case to try and reach the back line. So definitely didn't think that one would work out for JD Gaming, but they somehow pull off the miracle. And, you know, this game is shaping up to be a lot closer than we imagined coming from the early game.
Yeah, and we see BLG going for Siege. Interesting to note that we see Loken go for the Kraken Slayer. We've typically seen Gale Force here in the LPL, but BLG does have a pretty sturdy front line, and again, you're going to get a lot of like close combat. You don't expect the Kai'Sa to just be able to jump in and assassinate someone point blank necessarily, so I like the build coming out from Loken. And looking at that last fight, I kind of wonder how much healing Kanavi got off with that Moonstone Renewer, because something like that in these fights, which are so close, can be a game changer.
It definitely can, and we have to remember that Moonstone Renewer does work extra for the Aatrox when he is in World Enders as well, so definitely you will need to see some Grievous Wounds come out on the side of BLG. I do want to get your take on the new Shirelia's battle song that we see being built on Mark right here. Not an item that we see that often. A lot of times it has been just going for the Locket of the Iron Solari, or maybe going for the Dead Man's Plate on the Gragas. However, this is going to be one of those few times that we see the new buffed Mythic come into the Rift.
Yeah, I think the buff for it definitely felt really nice. It got changed from 40% movement speed to 60%. And with a lot of these shorter range compositions that need to get into the thick of battle, just a movement speed buff for your whole team is something that is quite nice. And obviously also a very cheap item. So I definitely think with the buff, it has a nice place in this meta with champions like Samira and Graves. So stock and standard.
I'm just kind of wondering, do you think this is for the Samira to actually walk away from the engage for JD Gaming? Because I don't really think that they're going to be chasing JD Gaming necessarily.
My guess would be no. I feel like if you're buying that item to run away, it feels a bit... I don't know if the word would be redundant, but I feel like it's not for its intended goal, right? I feel like BLG definitely need to get into the thick of things. I feel like Mark and Zika need to be the ones to, say, shut down Zoom and Loken's engage onto Aiming, right? Hold that taunt for when Zoom or Loken jump in, and then use that body slam and casket. I don't think Mark should be necessarily using it aggressively for, like, as a pick tool.
Okay, so I can definitely see how that would work out in team fights. Maybe wait until the enemy team is in and just kind of speed up the likes of Zika and Bubu like you were talking about so they can land better crowd control in the team fights. Maybe peel for aiming a little bit better. Seems like a pretty interesting pickup right here. Taking a look at the rest of the items, we do see pretty stock standard mythics being bought around the board. The Kraken Slayer being picked up by Kai'Sa. And this is one that I felt was pretty interesting because we do see a bit of a split in terms of AD carries. LWX definitely favoring the likes of the Gale Force a little bit more, but the rest of the field seems like they do prefer the Kraken Slayer onto Kai'Sa. What are your thoughts about these two mythic choices?
I think Gale Force versus Kraken Slayer versus Immortal Shield Bow, even in other cases for like say Graves, all comes down to more composition, to where I feel like Gale Force is a good item for snowballing and finding priority targets when that's your role in the comp, to where...
I'm gonna have to cut you off. Lirimo steps a little bit too far forward just to place a pink ward. He's caught up by 4 people on the map. Great ambush coming in from BLG, and that's 15 seconds right before the Drake is gonna come off. BLG trying to take hold of this advantage and find even more picks. They do catch out Yagao. Yagao has to pop his perfect timing right there, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get out of this one. This is going to lead BLG straight towards the Baron, and once again, we're going to see a great ambush play coming out with BLG. Great patience on dropping those pink wards.
And you asked me if BLG were going to use the Shurelya's battle song defensively, Clement Shu. That's not what BLG are here to do. They are here to be the aggressors, and JDG not in a good position.
Zika is trying to zone out the likes of Kanavi. He does still have his flash, so can possibly go into the Baron pit. Never mind, they go over the wall just to find him, make sure that they're going to take down this Baron, but it's still alive. It's still counting low. And who's actually going to take this Baron down? Oh, Meteor still comes over the wall to take that away. It was almost disaster. But wait a minute. It still might be a disaster for BLG because Zoom is incoming. He is in World Ender form and he is killing every single member of BLG. This is going to be very close to an ace right now. Bubu is still caught on the wrong side of the map. And what do you know? BLG, after finding 2 picks, after securing the Baron, JD Gaming still drop the hammer on them, and the white flag comes out from Lirimo, telling them to surrender.
This is absolutely tragic for the side of BLG. They're doing everything right. They're finding the vision. They're finding the picks. But sadly, Zoom's Aatrox is coming in 1v4. BLG realized, hey, we can't fight this guy. Jump over the pit to find the rest of the kills, but Aatrox still too strong. You talked about the Gore Drinker. Sterix gauging well, of course, now gives you the healing as well, so just synergizes even more with Aatrox. And Zoom showing, hey, it doesn't matter if we are slow starters. I am not a slow starter.
He is going to be the finisher. Talk about starts at all, man. I think we're going to go into a replay for that one, definitely. And I want you to walk us through how did this happen, because it looks so good for BLG at the start.
Yeah, BLG finding the pick on Kanavi to try to deny the smite steal coming in, but Zoom obviously wrapping around is able to 1v1 aiming since he was not able to get away from the pit. We also do see Loken jumping in as well, and at this point, BLG are just too spread out. They aren't together, and it pretty much just allowed Zoom to go through like a series of duels. It looked a bit like Fight Club, right? One-on-one after one-on-one after one-on-one, and of course the Aatrox comes out ahead.
Yeah, and if you know anything about Fight Club, those soaps are actually made out of human. So you definitely don't want to be buying things from Aatrox right there. Loken is the one caught out, but he is able to escape with the Killer Instinct, flashes away from the explosive cast as well, and they get out scot-free. Wow! What an amazing play by Loken. He doesn't even have the Gale Force for this one. They're going to try and turn this one around. They do catch out Zika, but Zika is going to walk away. Zoom pops his World Ender in chase. They get a little bit onto Bubu, but he is the tankiest member on the team. Are they going to go underneath the tower for this one? Looks like a bit of an overextend. However, they're not going to get punished for this one. Meteor is walking up with full health, zoning away the rest of the members from JD Gaming. And I gotta say, BLG played that engage beautifully. However, Loken had the trump card in that one.
I definitely feel like BLG ended up a bit fortunate in the end, where, again, they throw everything out looking for the pick. They now have no tools. JDG have a good angle. We see the Destiny come out, but sadly, JDG just aren't coordinated enough to find the initial pick. I still don't want to see BLG using some of these tools to find picks like the Gragas ultimate. I feel like you have other engage tools.
Zika is caught out here. He does have to pop his Zhonya's right underneath the tower, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it does look like he will be fine. Please continue on, Lyric.
You know, interrupt me any day of the week, Climate Shoe. But yeah, really nothing happening. We just kind of have numerous stare-offs, a lot of posturing back and forth over pretty much nothing right now. It will be potentially a Scuttle Crab for Meteor, but a lot of ultimates are down on both sides.
And both of them are still positioning in the middle lane. It looks like there's going to be an engage starting right here. The Ornhorn is called. Zoom is in by himself, 1v4, but he isn't dropping whatsoever. His HP bar is still very close to full. And just look at that tap on the Q2. Gets 166 HP back. And that was with grievous wounds from Meteor on the likes of his Aatrox. So,
Clement,
wow,
I honestly,
this is going to be a problem.
I have no idea what's going on. I can understand why BLG's kind of sitting around mid, trying to control river. You look at both side lanes, they were pushed out onto JDG's side of the map, but we had like 4 potential fights over really nothing. I think the first one made sense. BLG almost found a pick. JDG tried to respond, but then we're just kind of dancing around mid lane with no goal, with no purpose, and nothing happened in the end.
I can hear the coach in you just being anguished by this. You don't want to see the NA ramp. You want to see the teams actually play correct macro. Let's tell the viewers what actually is correct macro for these teams.
Well, first of all, I don't want to see correct macro. I just want to see some decisive bloodshed.
Then what are you complaining about?
Decisive bloodshed, Clement Chu. Someone needs to pull the trigger. Someone needs to come into the fight and go in. But, you know, at this point, I definitely feel like we could be seeing JDG play a bit more with side lanes. Zoom is such a monster. No one can 1v1 against him. You have the Destiny coming in as well. I feel like even if it ends up a 2v2 with Zika answering, it is definitely JDG favored. And you could use that to, you know, push in Secure Vision and turn into picks.
Well, I'm sorry, Lyric, you are being completely ignored. JD Gaming say, nope, NA RAM is the correct way to go. They're going to stack up 5-man right 1 minute before the Drake spawns up, so this is a little bit early for them to actually be here. What do you think they're trying to accomplish here?
My only question is if maybe they're afraid of sending Zoom to a side lane because of how many engage tools that BLG has, right? Gragas with the Shirelia's battle song, Zika having the Predator. BLG can pull the trigger very fast if Zoom does show on a side lane.
Okay, it does look like BB is going to try his luck onto this one. Does use the W to get out of the crowd control right here, but Zoom is super happy to just throw it down and go in 1v4. There really is nothing that BLG can do to him. He's been playing absolutely super aggressive into the entire front line of BLG, and he's getting away with it so beautifully. Look, he's 3v1 in the mid lane, and he doesn't have a care in the world because he is that Aatrox. We do see Yagao coming in potentially for the flank, but Zoom is still going in. They're going to go for the backline. Kanavi does get knocked back, but he's going to be able to walk out of this one just okay. And look at aiming. He's going in, trying to challenge Zoom, but Zoom is just healing way too much HP. He's pretty much playing a 1v4 on the front side and coming out ahead. How is this possible? There is Grievous Wound on this roster, but Zoom just doesn't care. The Stair Stage comes in, and with those Bloodlust stacks, he is still over 50% HP. Aiming has thrown everything at this man, but he's getting no results whatsoever. And on the other side of the map, it is just a clean house situation for Loken. JD Gaming take the team fight without losing a single member. Wow.
Yeah, and JDG can just attack the whole map now. They could take Dragon, mid lane turret, and Baron at the same time. You said it right there. Zoom is just too far ahead. Aatrox with all of these items and Moonstone, Renewer, Lilia just feels like the old Hecarim Yumi combo. There's nothing they can do to take down Zoom. And again, mid lane turret, they're taking down Baron. They should very easily be able to turn to Dragon after this. Throw the 2 Ocean Drakes on top of that. Like, you just don't have ways to kill this man.
BLG had such a good early game. They were getting the picks against the pick team composition. They were getting the Heralds, they were getting the Drakes. But when it comes to the team fights, JD Gaming still looks like they are king. Walk me through this, because it looks like BLG were the ones to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and we see once again Mark being the one to lead the charge. Aiming does find his way onto the Aatrox, but again, I feel like at this point you really just don't have enough damage in DPS to chunk them down. Loken able to get in on the back end of the fight and find some easy picks as well. And the problem is when the main carry of your team can't burst their front line and their like secondary carry can, it just feels a bit hopeless for BLG at this point.
What do you think BLG can do right now? Because in that team fight, it was a 3v1. I'm sorry, I have to cut myself off right here, but Zoom finds another target in Mark. He's taken into the death realm right there, just trying to get some vision down for his team, but isn't going to find anything. We see a teleport by Yagao just to push the waves out and set up around this top lane tower push, as we see Zoom and Lumao now wrapping through the jungle, trying to cut this one off. Very good play on the side of JD Gaming, and it's just amazing to see how they're able to turn a game that seems so much in the favor of BLG. They are going to try to find a pick onto Yagao. He does blow his flash, and he finally goes down to the collateral damage.
But it doesn't matter, Clement. JDG are still pushing mid, and I feel like a lot of our questions about side lanes have been answered from the fact that I do just genuinely believe they're having Zoom stand with the team and Yagao answer side waves, because if Zoom is there, there's really nothing BLG can do. BLG cannot engage into a front-to-back team fight at this point. Again, Zoom is just too far accelerated. I feel like BLG kind of missed their chance with the way they were playing out their comp early on. Again, using a lot of the tools that probably needed to peel for Samira throwing them out, looking for picks onto the likes of Lumao. Sure, it did work a few times when he was, off-warding by himself. We saw in the 5v5 team fights, JDG were too coordinated. They would back off after the initial engage came off. BLG then would have no tools, and then this Aatrox, this Lilia, this Kai'Sa would just be able to pop off.
I have to ask you that same old question once more. You're saying that BLG probably doesn't have a hope in hell to come back into this game now that they can't take down Zoom. But, on the Rift, you have to find a way. It's not really over until the fat man sings. I'm referring to Gragas in this case. But what can BLG actually do to maybe take down Zoom and maybe find their footing back again into this game? Because they're definitely not giving up.
The thing is, for BLG, they can keep punishing the side lane plays that come out from BLG. So if Yagao goes to a side lane, or if Zoom eventually does show for free, you can just try to take advantage of that free gold, picking them off, buying more time. Again, you are having super minions funneled into your base now, so at least you do have a pretty consistent source of income that JDG can't choke you out from. The big problem, though, is we have Drake coming up in 3 minutes, and that's Soul for JDG. So BLG can't just keep ignoring them and looking for these picks to get back into the game.
It definitely feels like BLG have to try something sooner rather than later at this point. They are fighting a 5v4 into this bottom lane with the potential of Zika to actually chase in here. Are BLG going to take it? Yagao is showing on the map, and it does look like BLG are charging forward, but they don't find the explosive cast, and they decide better on this play. Now it's Zoom's turn to charge in here. Zika is going to play a teleport into the back line, but it looks like it's a little bit too far. And once again, Zoom is surviving for so goddamn loud. Wow, that was a great 3-man taunt, but it doesn't matter. Zoom is still over 50% HP. Zika is going to come down. The Gourd Drinker does come out, and he does stay alive for a little bit longer, but they do find the main carry kills. It's going to be a triple kill for Loken right here as he does fall down to Meteor. And finally, Yagao is here to pick up the pieces. Can they actually find the ace? It does look like it's gonna be lights out for BLG as the Zhonya's does come down. Still unable to find the heroic charge, Justice Punch onto Kanavi, and JD Gaming outplay a 4v5 situation into the bot lane. They walk away with the kills, and it looks like they're about to try and just finish this game. The death timers are still 15 seconds away for Mark, but yep, they think better about it. Probably not enough time to actually do anything going into the base. So, that was just an amazing fight. What do you think that went wrong right there?
First of all, I still think it's just coming down to that same problem. It doesn't matter how many times you try to, throw your fist against a steel wall. Your fist is still not going to break that steel wall, Clement. So it might have been a 5v4. We saw that Zoom can just absorb so much damage. Once again, I want to highlight the Moonstone Renewer coming out from Kanavi, also buying him a lot of time. And it ended up being a 3-for-3 at first, allowed time for Yagao to make his way across the map, and JDG are just farther ahead in terms of damage, in terms of item breaking points. They were even able to back off for a second, and Kanavi was able to heal up with those Ocean Drakes. So I think BLG made the right call. You saw Yagao finally show all in that side of the map, but at that point, it is still a gamble. There's no surefire win for BLG when you're 7K behind with these compositions, with the people who've gotten the gold on JDG, which I feel like is the biggest problem. If it was Kanavi and, Yagao getting fed, maybe we wouldn't be in this scenario, but it's been Aatrox and Kai'Sa.
Yeah, that's definitely an unfortunate thing for BLG. I want to ask the coach in you, Lyric, do you like that play from JDG? Because they were very clearly goading BLG to actually engage onto them. They had Yagao showing. They definitely knew that was a potential, but they still went for it. Do you, as a coach, would you recommend that play if your team is that far ahead? Never?
No, definitely no. The viewer in me loves it. The coach in me would be like, guys, 3 minutes until Dragon. Let's chill.
It's okay because JD Gaming still pick up the Dragon anyway. They're going to channel that straight into a team fight, and we see Zoom on the flank right here. Yagao's going to pop in, find that gold card onto Aiming. Aiming has to walk out of the team fight, and here comes Loken. But Loken's actually going to drop before Aiming does, and that's going to change the team fight into BLG's favor. They're chasing forward. Their AD carry is still very much alive right here. Zoom is the one that has to hold the fort down. He does pop the Gourd Drinker, buys a lot of time, but Aiming is just has too much sustain to be taken down right there. Loken pulled the trigger, didn't find the target, and Aiming is now going to shift this game back into BLG's favor. They're playing a 2v5, pushing down the mid lane, and what are JD Gaming trying to do right here?
Clement, I'm actually speechless. There was no way that JDG should lose any fight. I guess the only way is if Loken literally runs into the enemy team by himself, giving BLG the only window they could have found. This should even out. This should equal out to a Baron for BLG. JDG still have soul, but I'm still a bit lost for words that actually happened. Oh.
The Immortal Shield build coming out huge for aiming, getting that Infernal Trigger and the sustain at the right moment, keeping himself alive. And as you said, this Baron is going to go over to BLG. They're going to try and catch Yagao once more. He really has nowhere to run. He's caught between a rock and a hard place. And in this case, the hard place is going to be that Zika Galio. And what a turn of events. We thought this was going to be JD Gaming in the books. It looked so damn easy for them, but now they're looking at a BLG push, 5v4. What are they going to be able to get out of this one?
Clement, they were 7k gold up on Soul Point with a 10-kill Kaisa. This game was done and dusted. It was done, but mistakes bringing BLG back into the game. They're going to keep going for this push. Yagao is still down for 30 seconds, so this is BLG's time to double down on the play and just look for the engage.
Oh, BLG looks like they are trying to end the game just right here, right now. The explosive cast is up for Mark. Are they going to be able to find the target? A Lilting Lullaby hits 4 people on the roster, and JD Gaming are going to engage. 4v5 in this situation. Kaisa does find the first kill, but aiming is still very much alive. Zoom, however, going in, chunking down aiming. This time, Loken is not going to fail a second time. He finds the assassination onto aiming. Triple kill for Loken, and once again, the fates are reversed. We are seeing the teleport down for Zoom. They're going to look for another inhibitor off of this play, and I just don't understand these plays. These tempo plays are so weird from JD Gaming. They were looking at a 4v5 situation where they were giving BLG a chance to end the game, but it still ends up in their favor. Wow.
Again, Clement, I'm kind of lost for words at the past few minutes of this game. Still, JDG realized, hey, if we play this stock and standard, if we don't send Loken in first, we let Zoom kind of absorb all the cooldowns, we let Kanavi do his job, we should win out. I wonder if JDG are just going to try and potentially push for the end. Mark does have Baron buff, but Mark might be dead.
Yeah, Mark is definitely on the wrong side of the rift right here. He does get tacked up, and the stun goes down. Can the Fat Man escape? We were talking about it. It's not over until the Fat Man says so, but this time, I don't think the Fat Man has anything to say in this situation. He does get a good explosive cast, but Lima with an even better Dark Passage, and the slow goes down. However, wait a minute. He's still alive. I was about to end my sentence on Mark is going to go into the gray screen, but doesn't look like it. He's just going to waste more time away.
Oh my god.
Oh, is he going to? Oh, please. No way. Mark is making this a very nice merry-go-round chase, but I think the story is finally going to end right here as he does get tagged up by Kaisa.
He did pull the wave, so he did what he intended. He wanted to stop them from having a wave to push the base. It might have not worked out the best. He still died, but let's be honest, the second he just walked right past 3 of them, I don't think he ever intended to live. And he bought them so much more time than I think any of us thought. But let's go back into the replay. BLG are going for this. And like you said, JDG are actually the team who gambled going in. Great play coming from Kanavi, though, with that flash Q into the sleep. Does hit it on multiple people, but this is what we wanted to see with the formation, right? Allow Zoom to be the pure frontliner. Allow him to absorb a lot of these cooldowns. BLG's comp doesn't actually have a way to ignore Zoom and just walk right past him. If you do that as BLG, wait as Loken to ult in. We see right there, it's actually a lot easier for JDG's comp to take fights at this point than it is for BLG's.
It definitely gave me the Shy vibes in that team fight because Zoom was going in 1v4, he was soaking up the entirety of BLG's damage, and he wasn't dropping whatsoever. It just created so much room for Loken to just finish off those kills. And we are going into a back and forth situation where we saw BLG can still win out if they get those early picks, especially on the likes of Loken. However, in most scenarios, JD Gaming, they can take the front-to-back team fight, even with their pick composition at this stage. It's going to be very tough going for BLG, we have to say. And I kind of want to turn your attention to Force of Nature being built on BuBu, something we really haven't seen this split whatsoever. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'll be honest, I'm not too big of a fan against the comp that JDG have put together. Like, the Lilia went the Moonstone Renewer build. I don't feel like Yagao's a massive source of damage on the team, so I feel like it's a bit misplaced, but I kind of want to go back to kind of the win conditions for these teams at this point because let's paint an honest picture. JDG should not be in this position. They have Ocean Soul, they have 4 Ocean Drakes. I'm gonna keep saying Moonstone Renewer Lilia, and they have an Aatrox, Score Drinker, Sterix Gauge. Like, this man should never be able to die. JDG have put themselves in a position where they still can lose, but at this point for BLG, I feel like it's gonna come down to a Smite Steal on the Elder Drake. If BLG can get that one, maybe BLG can potentially, you know, have enough damage to take down the front line from JDG and win out.
And I will say we have seen a lot of games in the LPL where it just comes down to that one smite. Whoever gets the Elder Dragon is able to use that execute and just finish off those team fights. So both teams look like they are positioning very carefully around this one. Once again, JD Gaming having Yagao on the side lane split push. And with that, they are going to give over positioning to BLG, as BLG can control the ramps a little bit better in this situation. We have Zika moving towards the play, and BLG are going to start this one. Very tense moments for both teams. Kanavi is getting zoned out away from the Dragon Pit, but Zoom is going to create space for him. He does find Mark, and the Death Sentence does go down. Zika comes in, and wait a minute, Zika actually takes the Elder Dragon. Is this going to be a turnaround for BLG? Kanavi is so goddamn low. Zoom is backing out of the fight, and it does look like JD Gaming are going to do a complete disengage, but the base is being tackled right now. Kanavi finally goes down. Biu goes down as well, but BLG are going to win the front phase of this fight. It's going to come down to the base race. Can BLG actually finish off the members quick enough to go home and defend against the split push of the likes of Yagao? Zoom is popping Sterix Gauge. He's still so goddamn healthy. This is going to come down to the wire. No one is really coasting enough. Mark is coming in, and no, he can't save the base. Yagao with the 200 IQ play. JD Gaming playing risky all this time, but this is their style. This is their statement. Yagao is the answer to game 1.
Clement, that was absolutely insane. I feel like we got the result we should have had, but not in the way. JDG taking so many gambles at the end of that game for pretty much no reason at all, right? From Loken's ultimate to the